Should you look up when you're squatting? There's a lot of debate on where you should look when you're squatting, yet I still see a number of coaches, particularly at the high school level, cueing their athletes to look up when they squat. Where does this come from? What is the strategy? Is it useful, and should you use it? That's what we're going to break down in this video. Every athlete wants to get strong, but what exactly is strong? When it comes to the squat, I can do a high bar back squat with my heels elevated, and it looks like a nice, pretty, deep squat. But if I want to be stronger, I can go low bar back squat, I can open my stance, and I can push my hips way back. This type of squat is going to allow me to push more weight. But is that strength contextually relevant to what I need as an athlete? Bar position has a big effect on our center of mass. A lot of athletes are high force producers, high speed producers, and this is going to create a forward center of mass. For this reason, you see many people in the industry who do prefer squats that are front loaded, such as a front squat, and some heel elevation to allow our athletes to shift their center of mass backwards and descend into a nice, deep, upright squat. This confers a lot of favorable advantages when it comes to actually recapturing some lost range of motion that can come as a consequence of these high force producing activities. On the flip side, when you have a weight loaded on the backside of your body, what it's going to do is create more extensor tone. If you listen to any power lifter talk about how they squat, they're going to be jamming their lats together. They're going to be trying to pull their triceps into their lats, and they're going to open their stance a little bit to create some more space for them to descend down into the squat. Because this bar is behind my center of mass, everything does get shifted a little bit forward. And it's a little harder for me to descend straight down because those tissues on the backside of my body are not open. And this is why you tend to see a more hinge dominant squat than the upright version when you have an anterior or front loaded squat. So why the cue to look up? What is it actually doing? Well, most of the athletes that I see using this strategy are trying to maintain rigidity through the spine. So if I just stand here and I begin to look up and I continue to look in this direction, eventually what's going to happen is I'm going to create a lot of extensor tone. I tighten up all the musculature on the backside of my body. For a young developing athlete, they may not have the awareness or the control to maintain a neutral spine position throughout the back squat. What does that mean? Well, as you go down into the squat, you have this force of the bar that's actually bringing you forward. And what we can do by looking up is we can use that extensor tone to create a lot of tension on the backside of the body that helps us hold the spine in position. Is this an ideal strategy? That certainly depends. If you want to squat max weight, it might be a useful strategy in this context. Is it useful for an athlete? That can vary depending on what you're trying to accomplish. And again, you have to go back to the original question. What is strong, and is lifting more weight actually conferring advantages to the tissues and the muscles that you're trying to train? So what I mean to say is, looking up can be a shortcut strategy to help maintain safety of the spine, but it might not be ideal for the long-term development of the athlete. Is it right for you? I certainly wouldn't train this way all the time, but if you're going for a max squat, if you're with the boys and the energy's getting high, this may be a very viable strategy as a one-time thing to help you get a new PR. I will add to this that there's not really an epidemic of people hurting their neck during the squat. It seems more common that you hear about people hurting their low back. That's certainly not to say somebody hasn't looked up and the bar's been in the wrong position and they have caused some strain to their neck. But you have to recognize that sacrificing this lower cervical rotation in favor of a lot of extension can take away some of the shoulder rotation that allows you to finish reaching overhead without compensation. As a coach, you've got to make the decision of, is this strategy useful? Is it something that I want to embed in my athlete's mind early on? Or are there other alternatives that I can train the squat effectively, hit the target tissues, and help the long-term development of my athlete? But I think it's important that you understand both sides of the equation and really want to emphasize that there are no good or bad things, that there's just trade-offs. And you get to be the decider of whether or not you're willing to make those trade-offs.